Baby, won't you please come home? 'Cause your daddy's all alone. I have tried in vain, never no more to call your name. When you left, you broke my heart, because I never thought we'd part. Every hour in the day you'll hear me say, oh baby.
Recording in progress.
Hi, good evening. I'd like to call the meeting of the Carpinteria Valley Water District to order. Can we have, let's see, is that one? Yeah, the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Got a roll call, please, Bob?
Here.
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 Here. It's not on. Director Van Wingerden.
Yes.
All right, 5 present.
Then we got item number 3, public forum. Any person may address the board of directors on any matter within its jurisdiction which is not on the agenda. Anyone? Lisa? Okay. Then we go on to item number 4, approval items. 4A, minutes of the regular board meeting held on June 14th, 2023.
Polly motions for approval.
Second.
We got a motion and a second for approval. Any more discussion? Need a roll call, please.
Sorry. Director Holcomb.
Yes.
Director Johnson.
Yes.
Director Roberts.
Aye.
Director Balch.
Aye.
Director Van Wingerden.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Then we got item number 4, disbursement report for April 16, 2023, May 15, 2023. Any questions, or can we have a motion?
Polly
Move to
motions.
approve.
Polly seconds.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Then we need a roll call, please.
Director Holcomb.
Yes.
Director Johnson.
Aye.
Director Roberts.
Aye.
Director Balch.
Aye.
Director Van Wingerden.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Then we got item number 5, unfinished business, none. Then I'm going to adjourn the regular meeting of the Carpinteria Valley Water District and adjourn the meeting for the Carpinteria Valley Groundwater Sustainability Agency. We got call the meeting to order. Item number 2, public forum. Any person may address the board of directors on any matter, business jurisdiction which is not on the agenda. Lisa?
Not right now. It'll be a nightmare.
Thank you. Item number 3, approval items. 3A, minutes of the meeting of the board held on June 14, 2023.
Polly motions for approval.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Then we need a roll call, please.
Director Holcomb.
Yes.
Director Johnson.
Aye.
Director Roberts.
Aye.
Director Balch.
Aye.
Director Van Wingerden.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Then we got item number 3B, disbursement report for April 16, 2023, May 15, 2023. Any questions, or can we have a motion, please?
Polly motions for approval.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Then we need a roll call, please.
Director Holcomb.
Yes.
Director Johnson.
Aye.
Director Roberts.
Aye.
Director Balch.
Aye.
Director Van Wingerden.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Then we got item number 4, unfinished business, none. Then we got item number 5, new business. 5A, the present proposed fiscal year 2023-2024 operating budget, corresponding year 2023-2024 fee of operations and administration costs. Bob?
Yes, thank Thank you. We've gone over this numerous times, but we'll present it one last time here. So we're considering the budget for 23-24. The total revenue we're looking for is $465,000. This is for the operation and administration of the GSA. We have the previous year budget there to the left of the green column, and that shows a total revenue need of 348. We had a significant shortfall, however, this year, so we are increasing it to make sure that that doesn't happen again this year. To the right, we have projected future budgets, 25 and 20, fiscal year 25 and 26. You can see a red line through there. It's just to indicate that we're not adopting those budgets. Those are just for information. I can go through the items if you'd like, or if you have any questions on the budget. Okay, I'll move ahead here. Just to highlight some of the changes from last year to this year, you can see along the right column here, there are a number of percentages. Positive means an increase and negative means a decrease. These are the actual dollar numbers of either increase or decrease. Just out of all of these, I'll just hit a few of them just as a highlight. You can see personnel increased 24%. That's largely because in the first year, overhead was not considered on personnel. So in other words, the 23 year really just looked at the salaries of the GSA personnel, did not look at the overhead. So this fiscal year, the overhead was included, which increased by 24%. This looks like a large increase, 320%. However, it's about a $10,000 increase, and it's essentially what we did in 23 is we believed we would have only quarterly meetings for the GSA, and turns out we had a lot more, and we anticipate, given the complexity of operating the GSA, anticipate having at least 12 meetings, and so that's what this reflects. Let's see, there's a new charge here, $50,000. So once we complete the GSP, there will be annual reporting required to the state, and so that $50,000 is an estimate of the cost of that annual report. Let's see, this last one, the GSA water quality and testing. So we've been doing analytics and groundwater testing for some time. This actually represents an inflationary increase of the analytics, and so we quite under budgeted in 2023. I'm sorry, in 2022, and so this is an update for the tests that we run on all of the wells that we monitor. And then finally, for the budget, this is a projection or a allocation used to set the budget number for personnel. So what we do is we allocate a certain percentage of time by of various staff that work on the GSA. And you can see that allocation here to the left. Again, 25 and 26 are just projections. This is actually the one we're looking at today. And then, of course, as I mentioned, the 85% overhead is added to that overall cost. So that's all I have on the budget. Kevin Kostiak is here today to do the fees half of the discussion. So I'm going to hand it over to Kevin.
Can I ask a question?
Certainly.
Again, on the reserves, what is our final goal for reserves? We're having 50,000 a year, but
Yeah, so you'll see down here reserves. We don't have a reserves policy, but what we did run into, or do we have a reserves policy? No, not for the CGSA. What we ran into was we were as you recall, taking loans on every expense because the way that we collect revenues comes through the tax assessor, and that comes twice a year. So it's sort of you get a lump sum of money, and if you burn through that before the next installment, then you're taking loans. And so what we wanted to do is set up a reserve to help us buffer that loan.
Yeah. I know that's definitely needed, but what's our final goal? Because you wouldn't just keep collecting.
No. We have to set a reserves policy for
We'll just-
the GSA, and it's typically 6 months of operating or something along those lines.
Oh, okay. Oh, 6 months or so. Yeah, okay, that's to be decided. And one other question is the overhead, 85% for the personnel, because we didn't charge overhead before it. What is that? 85% of what? How's that figured?
So those are all the supporting costs, costs that the staff, the office space, the electricity, the
Okay.
copies, the administration.
So
the
I
benefits.
understand it. So you went through that, and that just came out to be 85%? Or how did?
Well, we have a standard overhead charge, which is calculated based on all of the overhead costs per employee
Okay, I'm just wondering, and it's 85% of what?
of the salary.
Oh, okay, and that's been computed, in detail. Okay, thanks, that's my question, thank you.
Okay, Kevin? Go ahead.
Good evening, directors. Kevin Kostick from Raftellus. So we're going to go to the fees now that recover the costs that you saw in the budget for Carp GSA. What we're talking about here tonight, as we did last year, is what we refer to as our Phase 1 funding. So kind of differentiate between pre-GSP, post-GSP. This is just the underlying costs of operating the agency, of administration. We're not talking about future projects. We're not talking about what are referred to as management actions. So we're just talking about that Phase 1 funding requirement. Next slide. And then the study process, same as what you're familiar with for the water district, same approach as last year as well. So step one is a framework, our pricing and policy objectives. We went through a robust discussion a year and a half ago on how we think of our costs, how we recover our costs, how we structure a fee, what's most appropriate at this point in time and for the basin. The second piece is a financial plan. So we do project out over a number of years, even though we're talking about just a single year adoption. And really that's just the budget that we're trying to recover at this point in time. Then fee design, so how do we structure the fee again? And the proposal is to simply maintain the fee per acre that overlies the basin this year. That's what we developed last year and what we're proposing to update this year. And then the last piece is adoption. So we've produced a fee study report, prepared a public notice since we go through the 218 process this year, and then holding the public hearing tonight.
I'll just mention that fee study is in your board packet.
So I mentioned that this proposal is, again, just a one-year adoption to maintain the existing fee, which is a dollar per acre or fraction thereof. All parcels overlying the basin are subject to the fee with a handful of exemptions, those that are either federal, they're easements, they're rights-of-way, other properties that wouldn't reasonably be developed in the future. And since we are talking about a fee-for-service, we're adopting this through the 218 process, a fee-for-service, and that service being sustainable, managed groundwater. And then, as was mentioned, the charges show up on the property tax statement. So this is a fee-for-service, but it's not being collected directly by the GSA. It's going to go through the county assessor's office. Budget, as you saw, that Bob presented, so I won't belabor this one. Ultimately, what we're trying to recover is $465,000 from our fees. That's the numerator. The denominator is simply the acreage that's subject to the fee that overlies the basin. So the first thing we look at is what's the gross acreage that touches the basin. We went through this process last year of saying, well, only that acreage that overlies the basin is subject to the fee at this point in time. So let's imagine we have a 50-acre parcel, 25 acres that are in the basin, 25 that are out. Only the 25 acres that are inside the basin are subject to the fee. So we subtract those that fall outside, we get a subtotal, and then we further remove those acres that are exempted. Again, things like rights-of-way, easements, etc. So at the end of the day, we're recovering those $465,000 over approximately 7,100 acres. We divide the two, and the resulting fee on the next slide is $66 per acre. We round that up $2 to 68. We did go through, we had parcels that went through a variance policy or an exemption last year of those that could prove that they're otherwise not tied or overlying the basin, and we expect there may be more of those appeals this year. So accounting for that as a contingency, the proposed fee is $68 per acre. If we want to think of it in property tax installments, which are twice a year, that would be $34 an acre, or if you want to convert that into monthly terms, like your utility services, $5.67 per acre per month. Impacts by parcel size, we've bolded the kind of typical acreage for different, for the dominant user groups that overlay the basin. So most of our residential single family fall under a quarter of an acre, on the order of a fifth of an acre. So that annual fee is about $13.60, under $14. For agricultural parcels, we're, I think, on the order of 8 acres is kind of the average. So we've bolded the 5 acre and the 10 acre, and you'd see the resulting fee, $340 per year for a 5 acre parcel, or $680 per year for a 10 acre parcel. So again, these fees just recover the cost of admin and operations for CarpGSA. Only a one-year proposal, as we're going to revisit both the costs and the approach as far as how that fee is structured next year. And impact-wise, again, the most common single-family property sees an annual charge of about $14. Most common agricultural property at 8 acres, an annual charge of about $544. Thank you.
Any questions for Kevin? Polly? No. No. Shirley? Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
I'll just say, we have a recommendation slide here, and I'll just say this process went through a 218 process. Notices were sent, and so we have a public hearing that we have to go through. So recommendations are to open the public hearing, tally the protests, which are under 218, and then, if appropriate, adopt Resolution 26 for the budget and Resolution 27 for the fee increase.
Okay, then I'll open the meeting to the public. We got Bob's report, and then receipt of public comment. Lisa, is there anything online coming in or not? So right now I got Tony Brown. Anybody else in the audience?
Oh, why don't you let me walk through the Secretary's report real quick?
Go ahead.
Before we take any public comments. So this is the time and place for public hearings as set forth in the public notice dated May 10th, 2023. The purpose of the public hearing is to receive public comment as well as any written protest of the proposed charges in the fees for the groundwater sustainability service. Previous board meetings, including agenda items about the proposed budget and fees, were also held in this City Hall chamber, City of Carpinteria chamber, on April 12th and June 14th of 2023. The cost of service analysis completed by the CGSA and the rates consultant supports the proposed fees. The analysis has been articulated in detail in the CGSA fee study dated May 10th, 2023. The study is available for inspection at the CGSA offices and on the CGSA website, and is also included in the board packet materials of today's meeting. The report, along with the CGSA's annual budget, establishes the basis for the fee increases. If valid written protests are not received from customers, tenants, or property owners from the majority of the parcels identified to be within the CGSA, the board may adopt the proposed increases in the rates and charges for water for GSA service under the current law. To be valid and counted, written protests must be received by the end of this, by the close of this public hearing, or postmarked no later than June 28, 2023. That's it.
Very good, thank you. Then I got 2 requests to speak, and the first one is Tony Brown.
Good evening. Tony Brown, 6200 Casitas Pass Road. I'd like to take a look at the rain year that just finished with us and ask the question, do you consider the drought over? We measured 32 inches right next door to Case's property, and I'm sure that that varies in the mountains. It's double that, and I'm just happy to have seen so much rain, and quite a bit of it soaked in. It seems as though the State Water Project in Kachuma seem to be full. Bakersfield won't be using much of our water this year, and I'm not sure, but I'm wondering if we're going to be getting full deliveries from the State Water Project and the Kachuma Project, which might be helpful to our basin because, as far as I know, the Water District is the largest user of drawing water from the basin. And maybe if water is coming from Kachuma and the State Water Project in a full dose, it will help with allowing our groundwater basin to improve. I don't know. I don't have facts and figures on the levels of the basin, the recovery, but I'm sure that it's known to the Water District or the GSA, and to go on to something else, the fee proposal that is being proposed. I hear about these average parcels and average homeowners, and I do believe I've heard a board member say that it's not that much. My bill with the upcoming proposal, if it's passed, and hopefully it's shot down and thrown away, I would be owing over $9,000. And in my world, that's a lot. And I thought that this whole process was supposed to be on an extraction-based tax by this time. I'm surprised that it's gone the other way. Maybe I misunderstood something, but I thought that there was going to be a push toward an extraction-based taxation. Thank you very much for your time.
Bob, you want to respond to that, or?
I can respond to the second one. Sorry. I'm not sure there was a question in the drought part of the question or part of the statement. But yes, there are, telling to speak up here, there is a lot of water in the state, including at Kachuma and the State Water Project, and we intend to utilize that water, and hopefully that will help recover the basin. But I will say we were in about 10 years of drought, and so I want to set the expectation that 1 year is not going to completely recover the groundwater basin. It's going to take a number of years, and it depends on if it's going to be wet or dry, because ultimately the rainfall is what recharges the groundwater basin. On the fee, extraction-based fee, we didn't present it today, but in previous presentations we talked about the history of how we got here, and the intent was to have a pumping-based fee this year, but we didn't make it in terms of it was a big lift in terms of getting everything in place to actually have that fee work. We're close, and we're intending to proceed and have it in place next year.
Good. I hope you can. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Tony. Scott?
Thank you. Scott Vanderkar, 7017 Shepherd Mesa Road. My family farms out on the east side of the valley, the east side of the basin. My comments are meant to be positive to the situation. As most of you know, with regard to the GSA, I have been participating and appreciate the efforts made. And I think we've come quite a long ways. I want to just point out a couple things that are concerns to me, and I also want you to correct me if I say anything that is not correct. The budget is presented. It sounds as though the issues behind it are the same as the last time around, where the district has loaned money for the operations of the GSA, and this budget would allow for repayment of at least some of those expenses. So that is a concern to me, because my experience has not been in the public sector. It's been more in the private. And the way it seems to work there is a budget is approved, and then the expenditures are kept within that budget, rather than trying to recoup expenditures that have already been expended. And that seems like a kind of a backward way to do it. It also brings into question the oversight question of when the water district and the water district board are the same as the groundwater agency board, and the employees are the same. I'm not seeing the oversight, and it would appear, at least not having any further information, that you generally are writing your own ticket and going right along. I don't know that the budget is really being, well, it's being followed after the fact. Just for the benefit of those in the audience in particular, I would just like to point out, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but with regard to the fees, the state properties, which the state park, Caltrans, and any other state agencies do not pay property taxes and have not put forth any funds in, even though they have benefited well from the availability of water. Is that a correct statement?
True for Caltrans, not true for the state park.
So State Park has stepped forward? Oh.
They're on the their parcels are on the fee, whether they appeal or not. I don't know.
As far as the $48 per acre, the last go around, did they pay?
They did pay. They did pay.
Thank you. That's helpful. I would also just point out, as was said, the $68 per acre is a flat per acre and is not per planted acre. It has nothing to do with the actual extraction of the water, and I know that's where we want to go, and I anticipate that a year from now we will have a very different conversation, and it will be based on extraction. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Then I'm going to close the public hearing, and then I'd like to open it up to the board members. Polly, since you're the senior member.
Yeah, we've kind of said this before. We have a lot of work to do. We've gotten a lot of work done. And I think one of the things that I didn't hear, but it is true, is that we came close to doing the pumping charge. We were almost there, but didn't quite make the deadline. And so when Scott and Bob say that we've got a lot of it done, we do, but just didn't quite make it for this year. So it wasn't as, doesn't really matter because we're back to acreage, but a lot of work has been done to reach that goal, and I know that we will next year. So then the other thing I just wanted to say is that we know that the way we started, it does appear and that we have the board going over two different organizations. Well, it did start out that way, and as Bob has communicated often, there's more members that are part of this group that simply haven't attended. Ventura and Santa Barbara County and the city. So it's new. We're working our way through this. We appreciate everybody's participation, and I'm sure that we will keep this will keep evolving as we go forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Polly. Matt?
I think I can just parrot what Director Holcomb has just said. And I appreciate that we want to be more meticulous and more precise when we move to a pumping charge. And, we have a per acre charge now, as everybody's aware of. But I don't want to go too fast with that unless we have greater accuracy. And I think we'll have that in a year. So I think that's a good thing. And all this work is to comply with state law. And so we're compelled to follow this work plan. In fact, our efforts, those of staff and the board have even brought in, I think it's a $2 million grant that has been applied toward the costs of the GSA and have been, obviously that's a very important $2 million to help us advance the program that didn't come from ratepayers or property owners within the GSA boundaries. So we're working hard to minimize the impacts of this. We're working hard to comply with state law. And I think in the long run, we'll have a better understanding of how to manage the basin that will give it resiliency for years to come, for future generations even. So those are my comments.
Thanks, Matt. Shirley?
Yeah, thanks for reminding us the reason for this is to have a sustainable groundwater basin and also to comply with state law. And I've been keeping my eyes on it, and because we got in late for various reasons that Bob can explain. And so there's a lot of other water basins that have gone before us, and some have been denied. A lot of them have been denied and kicked back and do it again. And then a lot of them are going on their second round. And essentially what the process is we get our state water and the aqueduct is Department of Water Resources, but the muscle or the enforcement part of this whole process is the State Water Control Board. Do I have that right? There's so many, and we don't. And our water basin has really been studied a lot, since the 50s, more than a lot of other ones have, and there's some basins where you have big ag pumping, big corporate, pumping, the desert. Drying the little towns drying up because they can't drill as deep, and this is a state problem that's being addressed, and we're finding all kinds of solutions that can be part of the puzzle to work it. So if we don't go through this, all this red tape and expense, and it is what it is, with government, then the state will come in and they'll say, okay, you private pumpers, we're gonna tell you what you can and can't do, and that's the teeth of the whole measure. So that's what we don't want to happen, and the state is very local solutions. You work it out, but you must meet these deadlines and do thus and so, and studies and everything else, and touch a lot of bases that we have to comply with. So I think. So far, so good, and I hope we can continue and come up with a real fair way of doing this and have our aquifer for future generations, which we can do because the water district. Individual agriculture parcels, some get their water through the district, and the district is kind of like an octopus, and we're hooked up to the state water system and Kachuma and, various other things, and we're trying to do maybe an intertie with Ventura and, have Lake Casitas that could save our buns if we really needed something. Foremost on our minds is earthquake. We get our money from, our water from Kachuma through Tecolote Tunnel, and what does that happen? So, so the water district is just really, and the more I get into it, I was kind of came here and thought about Carpinteria Valley, and I was really worried myself personally about, drilling for oil through our aquifer, our drinking water aquifer. And I just thought of Carpinteria Valley. But when you get into it more, if LA Metro does this, it affects that. If Montecito buys desal water from Santa Barbara, that ups our cost of consumer water by a lot. So, and we're very fortunate to have Bob McDonald, who's, really an expert on this and all the moving parts. So anyway, I'm just, hope we can proceed and to success for everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Shirley. Casey?
Yeah, to echo, I guess, again, that this is something that was mandated by the state, and I just did want to take a moment to thank Mr. Brown and Mr. Vandekar for coming out and speaking with us and giving us your thoughts and insight. It's tremendously helpful, so thank you for your commitment and involvement in the process so far.
Thanks, Casey. I'd just like to make one comment. I'm one of the junior members here, and there's people way more qualified than I am, but I am totally convinced that management and the board are the most qualified to manage the groundwater basins for everybody. That's it. Thank you. Bob, you want to tally the protest?
So I have a number of protest letters that we've received over the last month and a half. I received 2 just a moment ago, and I'm including those in the total count. So the total count is 102 protest letters, and the total number of parcels is 4,851 parcels within the GSA. So it doesn't meet the majority requirement under 218. So if you choose, you can approve the resolutions on the next 2 items legally.
Okay, thank you. So we move on to item number 5C, consider resolution number 026, approving the GSA operating budget for the year 2023-2024. Bob, did you just finish that?
Yeah, this is, there's no report. This is just the resolution that you'll take action on if you desire to approve the budget for fiscal year 24.
Any discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 026, approving the GSA's operating budget for fiscal year 2023-2024.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
One point. I know we got 102, which is probably one of our healthiest protests in years. If we could just I know you can't, nobody possibly has the time, but we've always tried to respond to everybody. And I know that 102 is a far different number, but if we could just work something out on some of these, I think it would go a long way. Normally, we've made a good faith effort to respond to some of the responses, and I just think that that's important, especially for the ones that are a little bit more meaningful and diplomatic.
Yeah, and I read through probably 10% of them in detail, but I will read through them all.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Then we need a roll call, please.
Director Holcomb?
Yes.
Director Johnson?
Aye.
Director Roberts?
Aye.
Director Balch?
Aye.
Director Van Weerden?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Then we move on to item number 5D, consider resolution number 027, adopting the fee for operation and administration costs for the year 2023-2024. Bob, any more discussion?
No discussion.
Okay, then.
I'll make a motion to approve 027, adopting the fee for the operation and administrative costs of fiscal year 2023-2024. And I just want to, again, say we think we're close to having this in better shape next year. Thank you.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Then we need a roll call, please.
Director Holcomb?
Yes.
Director Johnson?
Aye.
Director Roberts?
Aye.
Director Balch?
Aye.
Director Van Weerden?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Then we go on to.
And before you go, I would have said something, but and just so everybody is aware, there is a standing appeal process.
Actually,
Good point.
that expires. I read it closer, expires, and we'll have to adopt a follow-up appeal process. It'll
And
be.
I thought the resolution even repeated that it exists.
I don't believe it does. I believe if it does, then great. If not, we'll bring it back. It'll essentially be the same appeal process, though.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks, Matt. Then we need a roll, but did we do the roll call? Yeah, we did. Okay, executive, number 6, executive director reports. Bob, 6A. Sorry, Norma.
Yes, the statement of revenue expense through May 31st is included in your packet. Through the end of May, the year-to-date activity on the revenue is about $439,000, and the expenditures are $686,000. So as Executive Director McDonald mentioned, significantly more than what we had anticipated on the expenditure side. And that concludes my report. If you have any questions.
Any questions for Norma? Then we move on to item number 6B, the CSPAC meeting, June 27, 23, Directors Holcomb and Bob.
Sure.
Yeah, so we had the, I believe it was the 5th GSPAC meeting last night. And we're sort of heading down the final stretch of these meetings, and that's mostly because we're heading down the final stretch of the document, the groundwater sustainability plan. We covered at this meeting yesterday projects and management actions, which are the section of the GSP that describes what projects will likely help with sustainability, and of course CAP was sort of the keystone project in that, and you know, described the project to the members of the advisory committee, as well as talked about some of the benefits to the groundwater basin. We also talked about a potential seawater barrier project. As you know, seawater intrusion is an issue that we face within the groundwater basin when water levels fall below sea level, and of course with the drought like we had, those water levels are and remain below sea level. And then we talked about some other projects like aquifer storage and recovery, water banking with regional partners, and there are some smaller projects that we will likely have or in the plan that have to do with improved monitoring of the basin, things like additional monitoring well sites. And then the management actions we discussed were related to things like meters on wells, improved monitoring and data collection and that sort of thing. And then finally, there's a section called the implementation section in the plan, and that really talks about how are we actually going to implement all of the things that we've talked about in the groundwater sustainability plan. So we covered that. It's sort of a guess on how it will be implemented. We have to start actually doing some of the things that we describe in the plan and see how it works out. I think overall we've covered most of the material with the GSPAC, and we agreed last night to have 2 more meetings, one to just kind of go over sort of the first half of the GSP, and then the second to look at the whole GSP. One of the things that we want to do is we want to have a sort of summary of what the advisory committee's thoughts are on the plan and where they think it might be off the mark or right on the mark. So we plan to come back to the GSA board sometime in August or September and have that report for you all.
I would just add that David has a few more farmers that he wants to interview, but I guess that all that has been going really well. So that was good. He's always looking for new names. And then we even have a member that's going to do a position paper, a little bit of a different angle, and that was, I think, well received and accepted as we start to factor all these different elements into an actual document. Scott has a new idea about every 10 minutes that's always very valid. And I think, as I've said at every one of these meetings, I don't know where these guys have been hiding, but they've been just fantastic and have contributed enormously to this effort. So that's it.
Thanks, Polly. If there's not questions, okay. Then I'm gonna the meeting of the Carpinteria Groundwater Sustainability Agency is adjourned. And we're going to re-adjourn the meeting of the Carpinteria Valley Water District. Number 7, new business. 7A, present proposal fiscal year 2024-26 budgets and corresponding fiscal year 24-26 water rates and charges. Norma?
Yes, thank you.
Kevin?
Okay, thank you. I can start off with and then pass it over to you, Kevin, when I go over the budget. Okay, perfect. Yeah, you want me to do the slides? Thank you. Okay, perfect. So included in your board packet tonight are the district's proposed fiscal years 24 through 26 budgets, which we will review tonight. Some background information. The district began the budget process in January of 2023. Staff and the Rate and Budget Committee held several public committee meetings to review and determine multi-year budget and associated rates that incorporated factors such as operational costs, maintenance expenses, capital investment needs, and inflation projections. Okay, we'll get right into the budget. Let's see. Annual operating expenditures are projected to increase in each of the 3 fiscal years. $665,000 in fiscal year 24, $642,000 in fiscal year 25, and $363,000 in fiscal year 26. And we'll get into some of the detail in a couple slides. Revenue is also projected to increase in each of the 3 fiscal years, $1.1 million in fiscal year 24, $1.6 million in fiscal year 25, and $1.5 million in fiscal year 26. Again, Kevin Tellis is here tonight, and he'll review the proposed rates and revenue requirements in more detail following my presentation. The largest component in which revenue is allocated to is operating expenditures in blue, followed by debt service in gray, and a small portion to reserves. Operating expenses comprised of various components. This slide summarizes the major budget expenditure impacts projected in each of the 3 fiscal years, and we'll go into a little bit more detail here. Personnel is increasing in each of the 3 fiscal years, starting with a $423,000 increase in fiscal year 24 related to an increase in staff by 1 position for a water utility worker, projected 3% cost of living increase, as well as 2 reclassifications within the engineering department, along with these various changes would be increases to CalPERS and payroll taxes. In fiscal year 25, there's a projected $267,000 increase. This is related to a 2.5% COLA estimate and an additional water utility worker, as well as 2 part-time positions. Fiscal year 25, we have an increase of $204,000, and that's related again to 2.5% COLA projection, as well as a new water treatment operator for the CAP project. General and administrative is increasing in each of the 3 fiscal years, starting with $56,000 in fiscal year 24, and this is primarily related to computer system maintenance, increase associated with necessary upgrades and protocols related to cyber liability insurance requirements, as well as a backup system that will store backups offline, as well as public information related to allocation program and CAP project, and employee education and training is being increased to pre-COVID levels as in-person training has resumed. And we see approximate $20,000 to $25,000 increases in fiscal year 25 and 26 related to inflationary projections. Utilities is projected to decrease in fiscal year 24. We see increases in fiscal year 25 and 26. This $71,000 decrease in utilities, specifically for power and pumping for wells. The budget is based on pumping 1,000 acre-feet of groundwater, a decrease from the current year to allow us to rest the groundwater basin. Professional services is decreasing in fiscal year 24, primarily related to a reduction in engineering services. In fiscal year 25, increasing primarily related to engineering professional services for an aerial image analysis And then we see a decrease in fiscal year 26 as both union negotiations and the image analysis are not projected in this fiscal year. Operations expenses decreasing in fiscal year 24, primarily related to new supplemental water purchases. And in fiscal year 25 and 26, we project inflationary increases of 10 to 17% in maintenance of meters, services, and hydrants. State water variable costs are projected to decrease in fiscal year 24, $458,000, as the district projects to only take 420 acre-feet of ID number 1 exchange, and then we have some increases in fiscal year 25 and 26. Water treatment is projected to increase $873,000 in fiscal year 24. This is specifically related to the Cater water treatment plant. The district projects to run 3,000 acre-feet through this facility, and Montecito Water District projects to only run 600 to 700 acre-feet, which means the district will bear a larger share of the costs. Treatment costs are decreasing in fiscal year 25 and 26 as we project that Montecito will increase their demand. This slide reflects the catered treatment costs over the last 7 years. Costs have fluctuated over the last several years, but not as much as projected in fiscal year 24. Joint powers expenditures are projected to decrease in fiscal year 24, and this is related to a decrease in the COMB budget. And we project an increase in fiscal year 25 and 26, primarily related to GSA expenditures. Net debt service is increasing $287,000 in fiscal year 24, related to an increase in state DWR fixed costs. $205,000 in fiscal year 25, again related to state DWR, as well as projected interest payments on a new SRF, or joint SRF with the City of Santa Barbara for its reservoir resiliency project. And we project a small net decrease in various components in fiscal year 26. Capital expenditures are projected to increase $15,000 in fiscal year 24, $120,000 in fiscal year 25, and $486,000 in fiscal year 26. In fiscal year 26, it's primarily related to CAP project consumables, and detailed capital summary sheets for each of these fiscal years are included in your board packet, starting on packet page 37 through 71. That concludes my presentation of the budget. I can either take questions now or pass it off to Kevin for the rates presentation.
Any questions for Norma? Go ahead, Shirley.
Yeah, I had kind of question about how especially how the staff and employee costs are considered between the two budgets, the GSA and the district budget, because the GSA doesn't issue paychecks. They, that would be really inefficient. The district pays everybody, and then the district gets reimbursed by the GSA, and I guess you would just call this the 66,000, 70,000, and 74,000. And how is that reflected in our increase every year in employee costs?
Yes, if the employees are also allocated to the CGSA, we collect for the personnel costs on the district side, and then, as you stated, we get reimbursed through the CGSA, so we account for it. We enter an offsetting entry to account for those reimbursements.
Oh, okay. So this budget, this employee budget, it's actually, these figures are in twice, and the reimbursement is a separate balance sheet
yes.
Entry. But yet we collect the rates according to this. Are we reflecting the reimbursement anywhere in our collection of the
Yes,
rates?
it's part of our, included with our revenue collection, so offsetting revenues.
In somewhere in the computations later on?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
It's in the district's budget. We're receiving revenue from the GSA, and that's how it's offset. So we don't need to collect that revenue because we're receiving it from the GSA.
Okay, so in other words, the budget bottom line isn't going to equal what we're collecting from all the bills because we have a few credits. It's probably not a big deal when you talk about millions, but still, I just wanted to make sure that's being accounted for.
Yes.
It is. So we have other revenues that are not rate generated revenues for the water district.
Non-operating revenues, yes.
And non-operating. And one of those other revenues is GSA reimbursement. So the GSA reimburses us. That offsets the budgeted cost of our employees that we're allocating. So we don't actually need to collect those from CVWD ratepayers. We're actually getting it from the GSA. So it's not double counted. It's
Okay, it's adjusted.
yeah, it's adjusted.
Okay.
And that's something that our external auditors look for as well, and they've requested, as you saw with the CGSA budget, that there is a detailed breakdown and percentage allocation that the board approves, so when they come and do their audit field work, they can actually compare it to what was board approved to make sure that we are accounting for that appropriately.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you.
A quick one. Did I hear right that we were adding one personnel essentially each fiscal year? Is that right?
Yes, one water utility worker in fiscal year 24, as well as in fiscal year 25, and then a water treatment operator fiscal year 26. And these are, again, for fiscal year 24, yes, it's included. For fiscal year 25 and 26, we are going to review each year, depending on where we stand expenditure-wise. It's a projection.
And then there's no like direct breakdown of the projected, I suppose, increases on items strictly related to the groundwater reinjection. Is that broken down at all? Like what the budget would look like without that project going forward? Or it's just all kind of become one thing, right?
Yeah.
We do have, I don't know if you have that in your slides, the separate part of CAP. I can tell you it's about $500,000 per year increase. For
Right.
CAP. So whatever's left over, I think I calculated it to be around 3% of this total 7.5% revenue increase.
Okay, so over the 3-year budget, about $1.5 million is cap specific.
Yeah, I think so. It's an interesting timing because there's no cap in the first 2 years, and then there's partial in the third year.
Yeah, it seems
And yet
like
we're kind of building
a weird
towards
time to
that
start
third
it.
year. So it is built in. There's the capital, that's the debt service. There's some of the operating in that third year, and then there's that consumables line too, which is the
Right.
repair and replacement, effectively a repair and replacement reserve for cap in that third year.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tracy. Kevin, you want to take it?
Sure.
Could I say what?
All right,
So
that's right.
we approved the budget Monday at Kachuma, and so I just have the net, just to be sure, that I have the net obligation here at 892,222.
I actually spoke with Edward last
Good.
week
Okay.
before
It did
including
go
that
up
in
a
the
little-
board
A
packet.
little tiny bit, but the good news is we don't have any of the repairs for the fish streams in there.
Yeah, he confirmed that we had the correct figure in, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello again, directors. We've got a brief and concise presentation tonight. I'd say 98% the same as what you would have seen in a May meeting. So let's go to the next slide. Rate study process, similar to what we showed in the GSA presentation. So rate setting framework, we've talked through financial goals and policy and pricing objectives with you over the last several years. Financial plan, that's new this time around. So we developed a long-term cash flow model that we look out over a 10-year horizon, see what our revenues and expenditures look like, especially when including the CAP project and future costs there, both operating and capital. Link that to our existing cost of service and rate design, where we allocate our costs and then recover them from various customer classes and different rate components, and then conduct our customer impact analyses, which you'll see in here. And then the rate adoption process. So 218 requires us to notice our customers, obviously, a 45-day minimum, protest period, document the study in a report, and conduct a public hearing, which we're holding tonight. And if we could advance a couple, I think we've got some animations here, 6 of them. So what are the drivers in the financial plan? We've got all sorts. We have inflationary pressures, obviously, both on operating costs and capital costs. We have pressures on our source of supply, changes to supply mix, and the associated costs with those sources of supply. We have existing debt repayments. We have future borrowing terms that come into play, particularly on the CAP project. Baseline water demand estimates, so relative to what we think our new normal conditions are compared to the last several years of drought conditions, and then accounting for new connection growth as well. So as we add connections to the system, we're generating rate revenues both from fixed sources and additional water sales. So those all come into play when we project out over a long-term horizon. And thinking of that long-term horizon, and the proposal again is for a 3-year adoption. That's why we saw a 3-year budget. So our overall rate revenue increases would be on the order of 7.5% per year for the next 3 years. That's the adoption window. When we project beyond that, we're looking at a 4th year at 7.5%, and then back down to projected 2% increases in rate revenues thereafter. So the 7.5% is being driven by several factors. We have pressures generally in an inflationary environment that we're in. As Norma discussed in the budget, we have some substantial increases to treated water costs through CATER, and then we have the future cap project and achieving the terms of the borrowing. So state revolving fund, SRF has specific debt service requirements that we have to achieve, and to do so, we need to increase those earlier year rates a bit more than otherwise to be able to service that loan 3 years out. So again, 7.5% overall rate increases for the next, I should say rate revenues for the next 3 years. Two modest proposed changes to the rate structures themselves this time around. The first would be to incorporate our hospitality connections into the DEQ. So the DEQ is a dwelling unit equivalency. It's used traditionally for multi-family, those that are master metered residential. This proposal would co-opt those commercial hospitality units into a DEQ ratio as well. And then for M&I, that's all of our residential and commercial treated water customers, the CIP charge, which is volumetric in nature, currently has a min and a max. We're proposing to reduce that minimum threshold from 6 units per billing period to 4. And then we've updated our drought surcharges that have to be adopted as part of the 218 process. We've updated those for our Stage 1 and Stage 2 declarations. Next several slides are just the proposed rates themselves. So the first are the fixed service charges. These are those service charges that vary by meter size. They have 2 components, our basic service charge, which is really buying into the capacity in the system based on the size of the meter, and then the state water project fixed costs. We sum those 2 together. In the total columns, you'll see the current and then the proposed. Most of our residential customers with the 3/4 inch would see an increase of $1.61 per month for the fixed charge. Next slide. Fire service charges updated as a function of the costs that are incurred, how they flow through our cost of service analysis, where we allocate costs to our different system components and customer classes and user groups. So those fire service charges all coming down just as an update to our fire flow estimates. CIP charges, so this says non-agricultural. Those are what we refer to as M&I. Again, all of our treated water customers on the system. Again, a min and a max. That min coming down from 6 units to 4 units, maintaining the maximum at 250. So the rate itself would go up 95 cents per 100 cubic feet. Next slide. CIP for agricultural customers is a different structure. It's based on meter size. The common meter size for that user class is the 2-inch meter. That charge would go up $9.53 per month. And then our commodity rates, so these are our water use rates. They vary both by customer class and then by tier, where we have tiers. So for residential users, we have 3 tiers. Commercial, we have 2 tiers, which we refer to as base and peak, because it's based on historical allocation for the base, and peak would be use greater than their allocation. And then a uniform rate for agricultural customers and for temporary water service. For residential, the big driver there is in Tier 1. We see an increase of $1.26, and that's driven again by those external costs of treatment at Cater Water Treatment Plant. Tiers 2 and 3 coming down modestly. Similar story for commercial, base up 78 cents per billing unit and peak coming down. and then the uniform rate for agricultural up 13 cents. Residential bill impacts showing levels of use from very low use up to very high. So our median use is 7. Our average on the system is on the order of 11. So if we focus there, we'd be looking at a total bill impact for a median user of $15.59 per month. And for that average use at 11 units, $18.47. And just to be clear, this is representative of the first year impacts, and then the years 2 and 3 would be proportional to those 7.5% increases we talked about in the financial plan. Similarly, for agricultural users, that same range of very low to very high based on that class's demand patterns. When we look at the median use and the average use, increase of $24.76 for the at 73 units per month and $43.74 if you're using 219 units per month. And then on the drought surcharge side, we have a fixed and variable structure. So fixed component is, again, based by meter size. We've updated those surcharges for stages 1 and stage 2. And once more, the common meter size for the for the single-family residential class is the 3/4 inch, and for the agricultural class, the 2 inch. And then the variable rates on the next slide that, again, are going to vary by customer class and by tier. Residential tier 1, where we have a large chunk of water use, you see the surcharges in stage 1 on the order of 21 cents, stage 2, 50 cents, and then agricultural 10 cents in stage 1 and 24 cents in stage 2. And those, again, vary by class and tier because they're a function of those existing water use rates. So put a bow on it all. Again, we're looking at 7.5% overall rate revenue increases each year for the next 3 years for that adoption period. Our financial drivers include inflationary pressure and future debt service requirements. We have cap costs that we incur in the next few years, whether it's building up the revenue base to service the debt, operational costs, and future capital costs recovered in the CIP charges. And then, again, 2 modest changes to the rate structure, reducing the minimum CIP for M&I customers, incorporating a hospitality DEQ, and then lastly, those residential bill impacts, really a function of our external costs for treatment. Thank you.
Any questions, Polly?
No.
Matt?
Yeah, I have a question. You said you updated the drought rates, but you didn't say what, was that made them more expensive or less expensive?
Oh, it's a good question. Updated from prior year, not updated from previous meeting. I would have to go back and look at the costs themselves to let you know for sure which direction they're going.
If they moved up or down?
Up or down, yeah. And I'm happy to get back to you.
Shirley, any questions?
Nope.
Casey?
Just to add on to I know this is a 3-year budget, but you kind of on your longer range projections. So we're looking at over 4 years, somewhere north of 30% increases. Thanks.
Yeah, the 7.5% compound, so round it up, call it 32 probably.
Oh, I did have a question, really, maybe it's a dumb question, but I always, because I'm confused whether it's 4 years or the 5th year. So can you please give me, starting the 7.5% increase each year, the dates, is it 6/30/24 is the first 7.5% increase, or is it 6/30/23?
23, so.
Okay.
Budget being presented tonight.
And 24, and then 25, right. By 6/30/25, we have, like say, 30% increase, and then 6/30/26, the cap is going to be starting, I think. And so that is when we see the decrease to 2% we're projecting?
Increase, yeah, the increase would be 2%.
Oh, increase, right,
rather
right,
than
right.
7.5%.
2%, but it wouldn't be 7.5, okay. Believe that when I see it.
I was going to just
Okay.
throw something in there that might derail that, and that is with all of the RENA numbers coming and the residential housing projects coming in that the city would have otherwise perhaps allowed, but now can't refuse, we might see hundreds of units coming in. I think the number that RENA supports is over 900 units. Some of those are ADUs, which don't get our capital cost recovery fees, but a lot of them are not. And if we're fortunate, we can maybe drive those capital cost recovery fees into our debt service and offset some of the cap costs that related to debt service. That could be, millions of dollars.
Yeah, also maybe the price of water will go down, although maybe it will go up if we keep having rain,
Supplemental water purchases, yeah.
And we did consider RENA growth in terms of revenues in the financial model.
Oh, that's bad news then.
Well,
It's still 2% increase.
we were conservative, so
Yeah.
if the future is as rosy as Director Roberts thinks, then that's just going to take pressure off the rates in the future.
All right, so Kevin, if you want to stick around till we finish the rest of it, thank you. Then item number 7B, public hearing on rates and charges increase. B1, Secretary's report. Bob?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President and Directors. This is the time and place for the public hearing as set forth in the public notice dated April 21st, 2023. The purpose of the public hearing is to receive public comment as well as any written protest of the proposed changes in rates and charges for the water service. Previous board meetings, including agenda items about the proposed budget and rates and charges, were held in the district boardroom, city council chambers, and online on March 22nd, April 12th, May 24th, June 14th of 2023. Rate and Budget Committee meetings were held in the district boardroom on February 14th, February 23rd, March 20, and April 10th of 2023. The cost of service analysis completed by the district and its rates consultants support the proposed rates and charges. The analysis has been articulated in detail in the rates study dated June 9th, 2023. The study is available for inspection at the district on the district website and is included in your packet today. This report, along with the district's fiscal year 24 through fiscal year 26 budget, establishes the basis for the proposed rates and charges. If valid written protests are not received from customers, tenants, and property owners from a majority of the parcels identified to be within the district, the Board of Directors may adopt the proposed increase in the rates and charges for water service under the current law. To be valid and counted, written protests must be received by the close of this public hearing or postmarked no later than June 28th, 2023.
Thank you. Then we move on to item number 2B, opening the public hearing. I have no slips, so I'm assuming there's nobody in the audience that wants to speak. Lisa, did you get anyone online? Okay, so then we move on to item number B3, receipt of public comment, none. Then I'm going to close the public hearing. Then I'd like to have the director comments, please, Polly.
Thank you. I've done Rate and Budget Committee meetings before in the past, and these are a very rigorous process when the committee members and management meet, as Bob said, often twice a month as we get started with revenue and major projects and costs and what's going to be cut and what we're going to have to defer till the following year till we come up with something. I think this year was a little bit different. Kevin did a terrific job in introducing a different rate structure, which is what we had been trying to do, in addition to making this a 3-year process, which we knew was coming. So I want to thank management and Shirley and Matt for going through this, in addition to Ref Talis, because the amount of rigor that goes into this every year to try and keep rates as low as possible and as fair as possible is sometimes not always seen. Thank you.
Matt?
I have no additional comments.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree with Polly. It's a lot of work, and it's very, it's got a lot of moving parts, and I always try to get the summaries so I can understand it as best, and I think Raf Tullis has done a good job on that, and I hope we can keep costs down. Thank you.
Casey?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, it was my first experience kind of going through some of this. It's great to see the work involved and kind of the processes that we're going through. I do, we're already here, so I just guess some comments are, it seems like a unusual time with the CAP project kind of looming to try and attack a 3-year study. But I also know that it's kind of required because of potential debt servicing and the need to demonstrate that we have the capital capacity to handle some oncoming debt possibly. But I think it's good to see the numbers and have it explained well. It is a tremendous increase over 4 years or so. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Casey. Kevin, I think we're good. Bob, are there any protests that you received?
Yes, I've received a total of 8 protests, and these protests will be available for inspection for anyone who wants to see them at the district office. The total number of customers are 4,575 of the district, and so this does not meet the requirement of a majority protest.
Okay, thank you. Then we move on to item number 7C, consider adoption of resolution 1142, approving the year 2024 to 2026 budget. Bob?
Yeah, I don't have any report. This is just
I'll move to adopt a resolution 1142 as read by title only.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Then we need a roll call, please.
Director Holcomb?
Yes.
Director Johnson?
Aye.
Director Roberts?
Aye.
Director Balch?
Aye.
Director Van Weerden?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Then we got item number 7D, consider adoption of resolution 1143, approving the year 2024 to 2026 rates and charges for the water service.
I'll move to adopt resolution 1143 as read by title only.
Polly seconds.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Then we need a roll call, please.
Director Holcomb?
Yes.
Director Johnson?
Aye.
Director Roberts?
Aye.
Director Balch?
Aye.
Director Van Weerden?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Then we got item number 7E, consider draft changes to the district rules and regulations. Bob?
Yeah, so this is something that we brought to the board. I don't know when it was. It was a couple of meetings ago. Yeah, and so we typically do that, and we're required to bring them back for final approval. We'll just Mesa's just going to run through them again, the changes again, just to remind you, but after that, we'll ask you to approve.
Yeah, I'll keep this brief. As Bob said, we brought detailed information on the proposed changes to the rules and regulations on May 24th, I believe it was. So this is just a summary of those same changes. We have not proposed further edits. This is the same information that was already presented. So just the high-level summary here of the key changes, this isn't explicit of all of them, is we're replacing the terminology types of service with customer class because it's more reflective of the terms that we actually use throughout the rest of our operations now. Types of service is really outdated. We're updating the description of the agricultural customer class, essentially who qualifies in the text of the rules. We're not updating the intent of that or the definition of who qualifies. It's just clarity changes there. We're updating the rule for meter leaks to differentiate between large and small leaks so that we can require resolution of large leaks. We are also continuing to work on that, and we'll have additional changes proposed there later. And then we removed appendices that really did not have information relevant to the current rules and regulations anymore, but were just artifacts of the previous document. And that's really it.
Okay, any questions for Mesa? Thank you. Yeah, we need action on this one.
Polly makes motion to adopt the changes.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? There need a roll call, please.
Just for clarification, it was Director Roberts seconding.
Yes. Sure.
All right.
What's wrong? Should I say it again?
No, there were two seconds.
want the
I just
second.
wa- I just- I just wanted to clarify
I'm really-
for the record. So I'll proceed with the roll call. Director Holcomb?
Yes.
Director Johnson?
Aye.
Director Roberts?
Aye.
Director Balch?
Aye.
Director Van Wingerden?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0.
Then we go into item number 7F, consider proposal for land survey services for the CAP project from Waters and Cardenas. Land surveyors not to exceed 34,500. Action for Bob.
Yes, so this is a part of the design services that we carved out of the Woodard and Coran proposal because we thought it would be cheaper to have our own, hire a surveyor on our own to do the work. This will cover essentially land surveying, including topographic and boundary information along the pipeline route within the two locations for the injection wells and at the treatment plant. It'll further provide depths in potholing. So one of the things that the design team is doing right now is they're preparing to do potholes to locate underground pipelines and utilities that may conflict with the pipeline installation. And one of the things that we want to make sure and include on the survey data is to have those picked up as the potholing is occurring. So this is essentially the whole project, including the CSD site.
I'll move for approval.
Polly seconds.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? And a roll call, please.
Director Holcomb?
Yes.
Director Johnson?
Aye.
Director Roberts?
Aye.
Director Balch?
Aye.
Director Van Wingerden?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Then we got 7G, consider amendment to the CCWA JPA agreement to include water storage as a power.
Yeah, so this is something that Director Johnson knows a lot about, but CCWA, which we're a member of, as a joint powers authority, and that joint powers authority is defined by an agreement amongst its members, or between its members. And so one of the activities that's becoming imperative for CCWA is to store water when it's available, because as we've seen over the history of the project, it's somewhat feast or famine. And one of the things initially when the Joint Powers Authority Agreement was drafted, this wasn't something that was seemed germane to the operations of the agency. But as we've learned, it's very germane and required. And so this is sort of a cleanup item. It has other implications with it that we're working through. But I think in general, it's a fairly straightforward revision to the Joint Powers Agreement. We'll be bringing it back for further discussion in about a month. And so this is a requirement of every member of the CCWA, so all members of the JPA will have to agree to this. Once they all do, that change will be made. So there's no action tonight. I just wanted to bring it and kind of have a little discussion about.
Any questions for Bob?
Seems like a great idea.
Yeah. Thank you.
I have a point.
Go
Comment?
for it, Sheree.
Yeah, I've, on the one hand, the ability to store water is, especially considering climate change, especially considering all the rain we got this last year, and most of it ran through the ocean, and people are really scrambling up and down the state to find a solution, or where can we store water in above ground reservoirs or lakes or underground aquifers is really an option, and they're kind of sprouting up everywhere, especially if you've over pumped your groundwater basin. You have the empty space there to store water. And number two, it doesn't evaporate like Kachuma. We spend a lot of money with evaporation charges. So that being said, on the one hand, on the other hand, storing water, it looks very different depending on what your situation is and where you are. And with technology changing in the future, we don't know what that's going to look like. And we're a water district, small water district that's right on the ocean. And, and that might look different for other members. And so my point is that when the Joint Powers Authority, Central Coast Water Authority was created, it was the state water project, the aqueduct. We all had the same interest in the aqueduct, and the aqueduct is charged by just what you use. In other words, Carpinteria is going to pay more than other members of the JPA that are further north because we have to bring the water further south, and plus we all have to lift it into Lake Cachuma, and that would be Goleta, City of Santa Barbara, Montecito, Carpinteria. We're kind of a separate group, and there's other 8 members of the group. And my only, to get to the point, my concerns about how we handle the water storage activities of the Central Coast Water Authority, which they're really are the most qualified to get involved with this, because we've got the really, the management there, and they can, like I said, it's an octopus. They have to deal with LA Metro and all kinds of different bureaus and things, to work everything out, and it's very complicated. But my concern is, the bottom line is, the decisions made by the Central Coast Water Authority is according to voting percentages, which is Goleta has 17.2%, San Ynez Special District ID 1 is 7.64%, Montecito is 9.5%, City of Santa Maria is 43.19%, City of Santa Barbara is 11.47%, Carpinteria is 7.64%, Guadalupe 1.15%, and Buellton 2.21%. So as far as any kind of decisions that come out of this body, Carpinteria has 7.64% say so, and that's how it goes. And in the past it was kind of like autopilot because it was very, very well managed. What you paid, what you use for, but especially if you consider earthquakes in the Tecolote Tunnel. And Goleta has a water basin that could probably hold almost as much as Cachuma, and Carpinteria does too. And anyway, I guess the bottom line for me is, and I'm sure we'll work it out. I don't think anybody's really concerned about it. They're concerned because we have supplemental water purchase programs, and that is structured totally kind of different than the state water project. We, people pay for what they use, and if they want to opt out and they don't need water this year, it's really worked very well, but you really do have to have everyone's agreement, even to do wheeling through the Carpinteria Valley. We need all the other guys to vote for it, and that's how it works. So, and also, which Santa Barbara City's already gone in this direction. We have other options. We have desal. We don't need to commit to a water bank agreement where we buy in, for $3 million, and then we pay $500,000 a year subscription fee, and so it is complicated, and I think we'll achieve it, but I just don't, as Carpinteria, I don't want to be dragged into long-term state water commitments. And this isn't just state water; it's any water that comes to us through this octopus, this artery. That it's really an asset. But I don't. But when they just turn off the tap and we get 5% state water allocation or none, and yet we have to pay for the infrastructure every year, or even Lake Cachuma. the feds can turn off Lake Kachuma. They turned it off for a whole year. We couldn't put any state water in Lake Kachuma because of, the penstock issues and issues with the fish, et cetera. But nobody really wanted state water for a whole year because that's just the way it was. State water is the most expensive water. And also, they cut off the water. Okay, we're not sending you any Kachuma water, project water down the Tecolote Tunnel because we're concerned about the coming drought. So that can get turned off from us like that. So anyway, we'll see. I think the technology isn't there yet to, really make desal affordable, especially for agriculture. It's pretty expensive per acre foot. But when you consider the energy cost to ship water from the delta down here, it's pretty expensive too. So anyway, I'm just saying that's. My concern is control over local water banking for us. And we've managed to do that for the supplemental water purchasing. So, I hope it will continue.
Thanks, Shirley. Thanks, Bob. We got item number 8, Director Reports, 8A, Comb Operations Committee Meeting, June 21, 2023. Polly?
Okay. So, Shirley, interesting comments, and I'll kind of rearrange things. We had a preliminary meeting with the county and Kelly Hubbard over seismic, getting ready for drought work, including seismic studies and issues with the big one that will come and the impact to the tunnel in the north intake tower. So kind of preliminary, I think the point was, as a county, even though we've had a good rain, there's still some work to do in other areas. So that was interesting that came up. And then the other thing that was interesting is that Joel was just explaining, that there's still surplus water out there that Goleta is injecting by I don't know how much into their basin. So that's great news for them, and they have been doing that. Our elevator is broken at the intake tower. And we've had a good 9-year run where it was, we had really big problems with it in 2013 and 2014 and finally got it fixed. But the lake has come up so much that there's moisture getting into the shaft and we don't know from where. So, of course, an Otis elevator maintenance person and one of our staff were in the elevator down on the bottom floor when it broke and would not go back up. So they had to climb 152 stairs up to the top. So that's obviously a new priority. The Ortega Reservoir was cleaned, had not been cleaned in a few years. I think Bob has touched on that, and we've been making our repairs with Montecito, so that was good news. Some other good news is that it looks like the $1 million from IRWIMP that we got permission to, instead of using it for the barge, would go towards the pipe, which we have already paid for. That means that it's inching along through the county process, and once that's all approved, we will be getting our respective checks back on that. So that's just fantastic work on Janet's part. She's the one that had the idea. I didn't think we should chance it. I didn't want to risk it getting lost, but in any event, it all got approved, and thanks to Bob and reworking some things with our grant funding for CAP, we were able to make that happen. So that's really, really good news. The other thing that we did is that we approved for Joel FEMA costs for $308,000 on various debris removal in many aspects of the South Coast, including Carpinteria, but especially Laurel area. The good news is that it came way further down than we thought. It was only $308,000, and we thought it was going to be closer to $500,000. The bad news is that we only got one bidder. It was a competitive bid, but we only got one bidder, and it was Peter Lapidus. And the good news there is that because of his local connections down here in Carp, we were able to find a landowner, farmer, that already had county permits, which FEMA insists on, in order to dump the debris, which is of high-quality soil. There's nothing toxic. It's a matter of fact, most owners would want that, and this is the case. So if another bidder had come in, that kind of debris dumping would have been a lot more expensive. And so we got a pretty good deal at 308. So we approved those costs going forward. Joel's a little bit nervous about FEMA reimbursing us. It should. We've abided by everything. The only problem is that they normally would like more than one bidder coming back. It was a competitive bid. It's just that only one of them bid. And, we went out to the usual suspects, and they were all too busy. So that's the news there. And we approved that to go forward to the board for approval. So I'm going to keep going.
And then, how about 8B, the board meeting,
Right.
June 26, 2023?
Okay, so at the board meeting, we had the annual elections. I was reelected president. Kristen was reelected VP, and all of the other offices are the same. The committee assignments will be done next month and will likely stay the same. We approved the Kachuma project annual project plan at $155,000. We passed the budget with absolutely no changes, which was great news because I was getting a little worried about the fish passage problems that we had during the January storms. But it was a slight increase of $8,000, but all in all, much lower than it was last year because we didn't need the barge. So all of that went over fine. We approved the project I was talking about before with the $308,000 to Peter Lapidus. Janet mentioned that the $1 million grant going back to IRWIMP is making its way through the county. We are kicking off our OPEB roll forward actual project this year, and also getting our arms around GASB 96. That rings a bell to you, Norma. And let's see. As I said before, the Bureau is still in surplus. Winding down, the lake is at 753.4 feet, and the rest is in closed session. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Polly. We move on to item number 9, General Manager's Report. 9A.
Yeah.
Financials.
I don't have anything to report on the engineering report or the operations report unless you have questions on them. There's a lot going on, I guess is the upshot. And on the water supply report, I actually neglected to put in the slides, which I was focused on the rate stuff. But it is in your packet if you'd like to go through it. I'd be happy to go over it with you. Okay. So on
Familiar with those slides. They don't even need explanation.
yes. Well,
And if they're not available on, so, they're easily interpretable just by looking at them
okay.
without explanation.
Well, I don't have
in
to
my
go
opinion.
over them. So-
But you're the chair.
No, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
I have one question about the, we've already issued a intent to serve letter to the Polo Villas,
Yes.
I'm assuming. And how many units are there?
I want to say there's affordable units, and I want to say there's 19 of those, and then the total that is in my mind is around 40 units. So I think it's 19 affordable and 22 full-size single-family.
So
residential.
just those two projects alone are over 200 units. I mean, I say Red Tail, which is out on Baylord, and the Polo, that's over 200 units. And isn't our, that would probably be $4+ million in capital cost recovery fees from those two projects.
There is something that we have to bring back to the board, but there is a few developers that have approached the district to ask about whether the current capital cost recovery fee structure is applicable to high-density residential. So where you have things where you're in a single building and, we require every unit have a meter. And so we're looking at that, and so potentially maybe something that affects the capital cost recovery fee for those types of projects. Villa Polo, probably not It's not a high-density development. And,
Didn't that letter go out pretty early? I thought it did.
yes.
Yeah, I remember, I'm just curious, because I think it's important to stay tuned on that because of those
Ones that kicked off all this.
rate increases and attenuating those. Okay.
Okay, Bob, so, go ahead.
I had a quick question. Do you know, have you heard anything about when the spill might end at Kachuma?
Yes, I got an email yesterday that it will end on the 30th, so this Friday.
Thanks.
Is that good or bad?
We got to start paying.
That's the problem, right?
They've been winding down.
They've been winding down, but the water we've been taking from Kachuma has not counted against our allocation. So if you look at the water supply report, it actually shows the full 2813 available.
Okay, Bob, so operations, sorry, just skipping that one, so water supply report? We're done there too?
I think we opted to not go over that one.
I'm totally fine with it, no problem.
We're experts in interpreting those graphs.
Should have covered all of them. Okay, then we're going to go to closed session, number 10, closed session item, conference with legal counsel, potential litigation in government code section 54956.9 D2, Kachuma Operations and Maintenance Board.
Recording stopped.
People, when that steeple bell says good night, sleep well, we'll thank our small hotel together. Distant steeple, oh, not a sign of people. Who wants people when the steeple bell says good night, sleep well? We'll thank the small hotel. We'll creep into our little shell, and we will thank our small hotel together.
Our romance won't end on a sorrowful note, though by tomorrow you're gone. The song has ended, but as the songwriter wrote, the melody lingers on. They may take you from me, I'll miss your fond caress. But though they take you from me, I'll still possess the way you wear your hat, the way you sip your tea, the memory of all that. No, no, they can't take that away from me. The way your smile just beams, the way you sing off key, the way you haunt my dreams. No, no, they can't take that away from me. We may never, never meet again on the bumpy road to love. Still I'll always, always keep again on the bumpy road to love. Still I'll always, always keep the memory of the way you hold your knife, the way we danced till 3, the way you changed my life. No, no, they can't take that away from me. No, they can't take that away from me.
This can't be love because I feel so well. No sobs, no sorrows, no sighs. This can't be love, I get no dizzy spell. My head is not in the sky. My heart does not stand still. Just hear it beat. This is too sweet to be love. This can't be love because I feel so well. But still I love to look in your eyes. My heart does not stand still, just hear it beat. This is too sweet to be love. This can't be love because I feel so well, but still I love to look in your eyes. I love to look in your eyes.
I love coffee, I love tea. It loves me. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. Boy, I love Java, sweet and hot. Whoops, Mr. Moto, I'm a coffee pot. Shoot me the pot, now pour me a shot. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. Oh, slip me a slug from the one.
Recording in progress.
Okay, on item number 10, there's no reportable action. Then we got item number 11, consider dates and items for the agenda for the Carpinteria Valley Water District Board meeting on July 12, 2023, 5:30 p.m. Carpinteria City Hall, 5775 Carpinteria Avenue, Carpinteria, California. If there's no agenda items, then we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. Oh, Boston beans, soybeans, green beans, cabbage and greens. I'm not keen upon a bean unless it is a cherry, cherry bean, boy. I love coffee, I love tea. I love the Java Jive and it loves me. Coffee and the tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, yeah. I love Java, sweet and hot. Whoops, Mr. Moto, I'm a coffee pot. Shoot me the pot, now pour me a shot. A cup, a cup, a cup. Yeah. Oh, throw me that slug from the wonderful mug. I'll cut a rug till I'm snug in the jug. Drop a nickel in the pot, Joe. I take 'em a slow. Waiter, percolator. I love coffee, I love tea. I love the jabber jab and it loves me. Coffee and tea and the jabber and me. Yeah. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. Boom.
Gee, but it's tough to be broke, kid. It's not a joke, kid. It's a curse. My luck is changing. It's gotten from simply rotten to something worse. Who knows, someday I will win too. I'll begin to reach my prime. Now though I see what our end is, all I can spend is just my time. I can't give you anything but love, baby. That's the only thing I've plenty of, baby. Dream a while, scheme a while, we're sure to find happiness, and I guess all those things you've always pined for. Gee, I'd like to see you looking swell, my little baby. Diamond bracelets will worth doesn't sell, baby. Till that lucky day, you know darned well, baby, I can't